Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me is John Phillips, co-founder of PredictIt, to discuss what the stock market politics is saying about the U.S. national election outcome with just one day to go. John, welcome back to Trade Talks, and we're finally here. And before we get into the data and trends that you're seeing, remind the audience how PredictIt works.
Sure. PredictIt is a stock market for politics where the value of the shares reflects the odds of a particular event occurring. And they're $1 winner-take-all contracts. There are about 100,000 traders in the market, and they're constantly buying and selling these shares based upon what they think the odds are of something occurring. And so it's a stock market, as I say, for politics.
Yeah, it's interesting. You can virtually make a market out of anything, and we have three different pieces of data to look at today. Let's take a look at our first chart, and according to PredictIt data, which candidate at this point looks to come out ahead, and how has that trended?
Well, right now it's Biden is favored. He's at 64% odds to win to Trump's 42. So, you know, it's not a coin flip anymore. It looks increasingly as if it's going to be Biden. But I have to say, the markets we're going to look at in just a second indicate that the race is narrowing in certain states. And of course, it's all about the electoral college market. So what's happening nationally is less important, whether it's polls or other indicators, pundits. But the markets are usually pretty accurate in this regard.
And that was the next thing I was going to ask you, because of course it all hinges on how the electoral college is going to play out. What are you seeing there?
So it's so interesting. So Biden is ahead in 10 of the 14 so-called swing state markets with predicted traders. He leads in North Carolina, Arizona, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, with an electoral college lead of 305 electoral college votes if he were to get them. There's a chart up which shows that the election, that the fortunes of the two candidates have changed somewhat, and the biggest change occurred in October, beginning of October, with the debate performance, the first debate, and then the announcement that the president had contracted COVID.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, what I was going to say, what's interesting is you look at some of these swing states, you start look at Pennsylvania, for instance, Biden's up by 60, and he's been ahead for months, but he was as high as 75% in mid-October, and that lead has narrowed. And if the polls are as wrong on Pennsylvania as the market might suggest, then it seems increasingly likely the polls will be wrong in Florida, Georgia, Arizona, for instance, other swing states where they may actually go to Trump.
And when we look at a blue sweep, or the Dems also controlling the Senate, it appears to follow the same pattern as the presidential trend we looked at before, with the divergence really taking place when the debate started and when Trump contracted COVID-19.
That's right. I mean, that was the October surprise, right? We anticipated every year and every 4 years, and it was really the debate performance was a big factor, but also the acknowledgement that the president contracted coronavirus. The Senate control is interesting because the Dems to take control of the Senate in the PredictIt market is 61%, but that's down 9% from last month. So there too. It seems as if it's increasingly contested as to whether the Democrats will take control. The Republicans are fighting to hold a slim 53-47 majority in the Senate. And predicted traders are saying that the Senate net seat change of +4, meaning that the Democrats would pick up 4 seats net, that's about 20%.
Yeah, I would imagine they are a big concern, because I feel like 2018 was very pivotal when we saw a lot of those seats go to Democrats. So I would imagine that they are concerned about that. But John, realistically, from 2:15 Eastern today until when the polls close tomorrow night, do you expect to see a lot of movement in these kinds of charts?
Well, yes. So there's going to be a lot of volatility in the PredictIt market. But there's also an interesting thing going on, which is, predicted traders do not believe necessarily that the election is going to be over tomorrow night. In fact, we won't hear from Pennsylvania for till the end of the week. And Pennsylvania being so critical and being such a domino, this could be a cliffhanger for quite a while. It could go on not just days, but it could go on weeks or maybe even months.
All right, John, great to catch up with you as always. Thanks for joining me on Trade Talks.
Thanks for having me on, Joe.
You got it. And thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.